gusta es pasar tiempo con tu familia.
Or whether you work in a skyscraper in a big city.
L'ultime expérience peut être arrivée à chaque fois.
Y tú estás en el lugar correcto para entregarla.
This year, the entire Inter-American Division will join together to make an international impact throughout our territory.
Parce que peu importe ce que vous portez.
What language you speak.
¿A dónde viva?
Hay alguien cerca de ti que necesita esperanza definitiva.
Delicious. Get ready to deliver the missionary book with Final Hope this April 10th. Inter-America meets you. The final hope. Yes.
Hi, I'm Pastor Elario Davis.
I'm Pastor Denny McCullough.
We are the hosts of your Bible study series, Words of Wisdom. In 2 Timothy 3:16, God reminds us that all scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof,
For correction and for instruction in righteousness.
Words of Wisdom is a specially designed program brought to you by ATN in an effort to share the Advent message to our friends and faithful viewers who are yearning to build a growing and saving relationship with Jesus Christ. If you want to learn more about our rich Adventist heritage, basic fundamental beliefs, counsel on courtship and marriage,
Or simply a deeper study of God's written word, then join us Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. on our Facebook and YouTube pages, as well as Channel 98 on Central TV. Join in and be a part of this special Bible studies effort by praying that God continues to lead and bless this ministry, by becoming a faithful viewer and inviting your friends and family to like and share our programs, by your kind donations and of course your generous financial contributions. Contact us at 416139351 or send us an email at atn@cbm.belizeunion.org. We are located at 10 3/4 miles Philip Golson Highway. Thank you for being a part of the ATN ministry. It is our prayer that you will keep the book of the law always on your lips.
meditate on it day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to that which is written therein. Then thou shalt make thy way prosperous and have good success.
You might be asking, who are Seventh-day Adventists? Commonly known as Adventists, we are a Christian movement established in 1863. We have 28 fundamental beliefs and more than 20 million members. We also observe the seventh-day Sabbath. Worldwide, we have more than 162,000 congregations. We serve countless communities with our education institutions, with 2 million students. And 198 hospitals around the world. And it's all because we love Jesus.
Can you think of some people from your church that you haven't seen in a while? Is there a person who is inevitably going through a difficult life transition right now? Or any elderly or sick needing your attention and care? Have you spoken to them recently? It's time to create a plan. Connect with them using a language that everyone can understand. It's time to serve. Show them that they are loved and never forgotten. Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these my brethren, you did it to me. Share the good news of Jesus Christ to all the world. What a wonderful time this will be. We cannot wait. Global Youth Day 2022. Loving the Forgotten.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Defining Your Health. I'm your host, Tracy Lewis. And again, I'm super excited. This entire month, if you've been paying attention, is Women's Empowerment Month. And so you should have been seeing a lot of break the bias signs and conversations, discussions, and discourse. So this morning, we're not going to leave that out on ATN. So our theme this morning is Break the Bias, Self-Defense for Empowerment. So on set with me, I have Miss Renee Wentz, and she's a self-defense instructor. And so we're going to have a pretty exciting session this morning. Miss Renee, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, yes, I am a self-defense instructor. I have been teaching self-defense in Belize for over 20 years now.
Wow.
I started to teach very shortly after I moved here 20 years ago. And my other life, I am a counselor, a marriage and family therapist, and I do counseling for individuals, couples, and families. So I wear two hats, but they do go together very well.
Those are two very important hats. And I always have to ask, what's the inspiration for getting into this area of expertise?
Well, when I was taking, I have a black belt in Taekwondo, and when I was doing my work in Taekwondo, I was going to a women's school, and I started very late in life. I was about 28, 29 years old when I started.
That's not late.
Well, it's late for starting a martial art.
Okay.
Most people start when they're children, or they may be a teenager to take a martial art. So women, women over I was close to 30, don't often start something like that. Yeah. But our class was mostly, I think I was still the youngest person in the class at the time when I started. But the instructor that I had, she taught both Taekwondo and she also taught self-defense. And a lot of times people think a martial art is a self-defense. A martial art can help you kind of train your body. And it's really good for lots of different reasons, concentration, discipline, all of that kind of stuff. But the things that you do in a martial art are not necessarily, they wouldn't really work in a fight where you're fighting for your life. And so and a martial art takes a long time to master. It took me 5 years to get my black belt.
Wow.
And I still wouldn't use my martial art because things are pretty, they have to be exact and perfect for a martial art. That's not necessarily going to work in a street fight. Yeah. You're looking for effectiveness, you're looking for things that are easy. And so when I first moved to Belize, a person who lived in my area had a gym, and he asked me, he heard I had a black belt, and he asked me if I would teach at his gym. I said, teach what? And he said, karate. And I said, well, I don't even know karate, but why would people want to learn a martial art? And he said the women that come to his gym would want it for self-defense. Oh. And I said, oh, I can teach self-defense. My instructor had us teach with her when you got up in your belt progression. And we also had to demonstrate self-defense as part of our belt progression in our martial art. And so I contacted my sensei. People are asking me to do this. She helped me put together my first program. And so I started, and I had a class of 5 people.
Very small.
So one person was 72 years old that was in the class. I had a mother and daughter. The mother was probably in her 50s, the daughter in her 20s. I had an 8-year-old child. And I had a woman who was retired and was in the Peace Corps. And she was working with the Women's Department, working with the survivors of domestic violence group. And she said she would like me to come and teach there. And then it just took off after that.
Yeah.
I started working with the Women's Department. And for a number of years, they were my primary source. And I've been everywhere. I've been to little villages. One of my favorite villages I went to was Flowers Bank.
Flores Bank. Okay.
And when we went there, the person who had the key for the community center wasn't there, and nobody else had a key. So we ended up doing it right by the riverside.
Wow.
And we had, I had 2 children. So I had like 6 women, 2 children, a dog, and 6 chickens.
What dogs?
Yeah, I taught self-defense to that group. It was so much fun. So I've been a lot of places, including the Keys, and so I go wherever people ask me to come. If you have a group and you want me to come, all you have to do, we'll give my information at the end. All you have to do is get in touch with me.
Right.
And then I try to do things for your particular group. I mostly teach women and girls, but I also work with other vulnerable populations. So I work with people with disabilities.
Okay.
I work with children of both genders. I've worked with people. I've worked with people who are above the age of 60 or 65, and so just different groups that maybe are more vulnerable to violence or maybe targeted for violence. So I work with them particularly to teach them. Yeah,
that's awesome. You know, and our viewers might be wondering, but shouldn't God fight our battles? And what is this talk about self-defense and women? But you know, I just want to reassure you that the 17th position on bearing arms on murder is very clear. All right, we're not endorsing murder or violence, but sometimes you do find yourself, we live in a very you know, the world is not perfect, and so you want to be able to have an understanding of how violence occurs. And I know that in your program you talk about self-defense for empowerment. That's a perspective we want to focus on. We want to learn about some prevention, and if we absolutely must, how to get out of a pretty tight situation. So I think that's awesome. So I'm ready to get started. You know, when you have these programs, what's one of the first things you cover with these women?
Okay, so we actually have, some people call it principles, 5 principles. I call it the 5 fingers of self-defense, and they're actually on this shirt, but you probably can't see it. But this is, again, why empowerment self-defense is different than maybe other people who are teaching from just a martial arts background.
Okay.
I work with an organization, or I'm part of an organization called Empowerment Self-Defense Global. I have my own in-country program that I started 20 years ago, but I've been a part of this program since 2017, when we actually got together and created this program. And so we're working all over the world doing this. And so but we all come from the same principles. And a lot of the people that are teaching self-defense have no martial arts background.
Okay.
And so the difference is that we have the 5 principles, and fight is one of the last ones that you do. So the very first one is think. And so that maybe focuses on the preventative. It focuses on observation. How do you recognize when something is dangerous? One of the problems that a lot of us have is we do things that are habitual.
Okay.
We get up at the same time every day. We have the same routine every morning. We leave our house about the same time. We take the same route and the same mode of transportation if we're going to work or school or wherever we're going. And then, and so one of the things is that makes us predictable. And a lot of us know that's kind of a dangerous thing. If somebody's watching you, then they can notice, they can know when you're more vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like when you got your keys out to open your gate and you're not paying attention to anything around you. That maybe is where they could attack you. The other thing, though, is when we are doing something that's a habit, we're usually not paying attention to what's going on around us.
So automatic.
Yes, and our brain is somewhere else. Our body knows what to do.
Correct.
So our brain is thinking about, what am I going to cook for dinner tonight? I had that fight with my daughter yesterday, and I feel bad about it. I need to finish this project for work, and I forgot all about it. You know.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about that, and so observation is the key. When you're walking, or you're anywhere on the street, you should be looking around your environment. You should be looking and noticing. You know, even it sometimes still gets me. Like I passed an area yesterday that I pass regularly, and I noticed a brand new building.
Yeah,
and I'm like, when did it build this? And I missed it being built. Like, they must have built this really fast because I didn't notice it. But I try to, and one of the other things I recommend is like greeting people.
Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon. They know that you see them.
Right.
And so one of the techniques that I usually teach is if you feel somebody's following you, they probably are. They might just be going the same way. So you're not going to like go, "Following me," scream at them. But what you can do is turn around, make eye contact with them, and say good morning.
Good.
You're not like flirty, like good morning. You're not going to have somebody like want to continue conversation, but you're saying good morning. You're getting a good look at them because an attacker doesn't want to be caught.
Right.
That is the worst thing. So they usually will come from behind to attack you because they'll steal what you have. If you're carrying your bag incorrectly, and I teach all of these things in my classes: how to carry your bags, how to walk, how to do all this. But if you turn around and you get a good look at them and they know that they saw you, they'll usually, they'll usually go and find somebody else because there's lots of good targets on the street out there. Lots of us walking around not paying attention.
Especially certain times in the mornings or in the evenings. I love that you said that bid the time of the day technique, because I usually do it, but because it's so natural, I'm not really paying attention. I'll just be like, good morning, and then it's not, I had to laugh because it's like you're telling them good morning, but it's for a purpose. The intention is that I want to know that I see you, and it's not just this.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of you kind of thing. Because, another thing about making eye contact is that it, women, we get a lot of street harassment. I mean, when I moved here, I was young and cute, right? I thought by the time I'm 54 years old, I thought by this time, people would stop harassing me on the street.
Not the least.
No, every day some man says something to me out there. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's friendly, lots of times it's nasty.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, like a lot of women I know walk around, they don't make eye contact because they don't want anybody to say anything to them.
Yeah.
But it's good to, you have to do what you think is right. Sometimes when somebody says something nasty to me, I just give them the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I just give them the stink eye.
The stink eye.
Right? Sometimes I say something. It just depends on my mood and if I feel like I have to say something to them. But you should make eye contact, because when we keep our eyes down, we don't know if they're going to escalate from that street harassment, verbal, then to doing something to you. And if they see you're meek and you don't want to make eye contact, you look frightened, that encourages them then to do something else.
I mean, I love that so much, because self-defense for empowerment, just the fact that you're able to make eye contact is a form of self-defense, because you're letting people know that I'm not going to allow you to take advantage of me. I've never seen it that way before, like eye contact being a form of self-defense, and it's so true.
It is. So the second principle, the second finger, and really we spend a majority of the time in my class, or a big portion of the class, is the observation part.
Observation.
And we also do a lot of things with like boundary setting, like how close can somebody get if they're your friend, how close can somebody get? And if it's a stranger, how close can they get before you tell them,
all right, this is far enough.
Back off.
Yeah.
One of the things about COVID that was nice is that we had social distancing, so we could always say, you need to back up because 6 feet, right? We still have it, so we can still say that. Yeah. But for me, I was like, I loved the masking. I loved the social distancing, kept people away. And also the masks, nobody could tell you to smile because they couldn't tell out there. And so I like that part about it. So the second one then is yell.
Okay.
Now yell isn't, yes, obviously the first thing you're going to do if somebody tries to attack you, unless they have a weapon like a gun, a knife, or a machete, if it's just unarmed attack, you're going to yell.
Okay.
And the yelling is for a number of reasons. The first one is to draw attention. It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's going to come to your aid. All right. But the attacker doesn't know that. Right. And again, they don't want to get caught. The second one is to scare the attacker.
Yeah, it startles them.
Yeah. And because remember, to have an attack, they have to be close enough to touch you.
Right.
Right. If they're back there and you just use your assertiveness and say, back off or stay where you are, don't come any closer, that's using your assertiveness. And in part of yell is also some assertiveness training around that. But if they're right up on you and you yell, and I'm not going to do it because I'll probably break the microphone or somebody's eardrum, But if you come to my class, you'll hear the most ungodly yell coming at me.
I think I need some training for yelling because I don't know how to yell.
And I always say it's not screaming, it's yelling. And I use the word no because it's universal. Many languages, it has the same meaning. And the way you say it, it doesn't even matter if the person understands. It has to be deep. And even if you have a high voice, you can lower your voice.
That's my problem.
We can all do that. You have to take a deep breath so you have a full belly and you want all the air to come out. And so it's a very long, mine sounds like an animal. I always, like, when I do it in class, I make them back up, cover their ears, and then I tell them, like, you know, how did I look when I do it? Because I always do a whole thing. And they go, Miss, you look crazy. I said, good. Crazy is good for self-defense. I want them to think, if that sound come out of that white lady, I don't know what kind of demon is she. I don't want to meet she, right? And so that is what we use the yell for in that case. So it could frighten them. It hurts their ears if you're close. It also helps you control your breathing because when you're nervous, you get that fight or flight going. You start to breathe your heart beats very fast. You start to breathe. When you fill up your lungs with a big, nice, full thing of oxygen, and then you throw it all out there, the next breath you take is going to be very oxygen. It's going to be full of oxygen. I can never say that word. But that is important for your hands and your feet if you do have to fight, that you have your blood is fully full of oxygen.
And I guess that's the difference between, because you said it's not a scream, it's a yell.
To yell.
Because a scream is usually high-pitched, frightened, you're not really intentional, you're just scared.
Oh,
no, from the bottom
extended
up. Okay.
Yeah, and then the other reason we do, another reason we do it is because if you hit at the same time and you yell, even if you yell, a lot of people will hit and yell afterwards. I don't care. As long as they're making noise, because when you make the noise along with a hit or a kick, it makes that more powerful because you're using your whole body. And for women, the majority of us are not as strong in our upper body. And most of the time, a person who attacks you is bigger than you. Often it's a male. Not always. There are females, but usually people don't attack you unless they think they're going to be able to win. And so unless they are drunk or high, that you should know from your observation. You see somebody who's drunk, high, or acting like they're very mentally ill and they're in a psychotic state, they don't have reality, avoid them. Avoid them as much as possible. But unless those cases, or they have a gun, a knife, or a machete, a smaller person usually isn't going to attack you. They're going to look for somebody a little bit easier. Because if they wanted to work hard, they would go and scrape fish, sell bread and buns, chop yard. They want something quick. If they're going to steal from you or if they want to hurt you, they don't want to fight. Okay, so when we yell, it increases the strength. And lastly, because like I said, we aren't as strong up here, if I'm going to strike with my hand, I need to use the rest of my body because the lower body we're pretty strong in.
Yeah,
female. Yeah, and so we're thinking of exploding. So I'm not just going to make contact with your nose, I'm going through your head. Okay, so when I would make contact, when I would actually, this is your face, if I make contact here, I'm going to make contact with my arms still bent. So I'm going to go through that target. So I'm exploding through, and explosions are not quiet.
Yeah,
they're noisy
because we don't have, like you said, that upper body strength.
Right. We got to use the whole body. So that's the yell. The third one.
I'm writing this down. So the first one is think, and then yell.
The next one is run. If you can get away, never start a fight unless you have to. Never. I mean, one of my motto is this is a martial arts thing, but it's something like this, and that's my logo.
Okay.
So I'm a peaceful person, but I will fight if I have to.
If you have to.
If I have to. So if you can run. Okay. A fight could be one punch. Maybe the punch isn't that hard, but let's say you get knocked down or you hit your head on the concrete. And that is what kills you, that head injury from hitting the concrete, not the punch. So we never want to engage. I don't recommend that people fight over stuff.
If they're trying to rob you or something.
You can replace stuff, phone, wallet, anything like that. Things can be replaced. Your life can't. and you never know when something can be deadly. The only thing I would say, you fight for other people. So you have more vulnerable people, or you have children.
Then you need to stand up.
Then you're able, and again, for mothers, and if you have children, it's great to know how to fight yourself, because it gives you added ability to protect your children if you have to. And then it's great. I love when I do the children's classes, because they start to learn young, and I have them come with a parent or a guardian or somebody who takes care of them. And then they have that person to practice with. And if you start practicing when you're 5 or 6 years old, by the time they're teenagers and maybe they're having people aggress after them, particularly in a sexual way.
Yeah.
Even our young girls at 11 and 12 are getting harassed by adult men out there.
Definitely.
Or targeted.
They'll be confident.
Yeah, so they'll have that confidence. They'll know that they can use their body if they need to, because they've had all these years of practicing.
That's true.
And so not till finger number 4 do we get to fight.
Okay.
And again, like I said, that's if you have to. And I teach very simple techniques. We're going to do a demonstration here in the second half. And I only teach about 6 moves with the hands and the feet. And I teach like how to get out of a choke, how to get out of suffocation, strangulation, how to release yourself from a grip. And we're going to do a demonstration on that. So, but since I only teach 6 moves, the important part is I teach targets.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that before we do the demo. But it's important to know your targets, because when you're going to do self-defense, you don't want to just hurt somebody, cause pain. You need to cause an injury. Okay. Because the whole point is 1, 2, maybe 3 hits. And my whole point is just to get out of there.
Right.
I'm not there to fight you like I'm a boxer. I'm not going to fight you in a round, right, 10-minute round or whatever, a 3-minute round. Ding! No, I am there to get out. And so you have to cause some kind of injury so they can't turn around, chase you, grab you again, and start over. And so the reason I only teach a few moves is most of them, almost all the moves can be used to almost all the targets. Okay. And so once and targets are going to be different because everybody's a different size, right? Okay. And so what's a target for me on a tall person might not be a target for a shorter person on that person. They might not be able to reach the face.
That's true.
So and I have targets all the way upstairs to down.
So we'll do that in the demo, the fight section we'll do in the demo in the second half.
The very last one, you think what's left? Mm-hmm. What's left is tell.
Tell.
And so tell has to do with, and I talk about tell in a couple of ways now. One is to tell about an incident. So if you have somebody who's either harassing you, maybe has been following you, or has actually made an attempt, or stole, or did complete something, like they stole from you, or they harmed you, like physically assaulted you, mm-hmm. you need to report. Okay. Well, I'm saying you need to. You don't need to. You have to make that decision yourself. I encourage people to report, because if you don't, that person is still out there and can come back after you.
Right.
And then I also like to look at this as a sisterhood. If they attack me, they're going to attack some other woman out there. I'm no kind of special person that they're only going to cause me injury. They're going to do it to somebody else. The other thing is tell your story.
Tell your story.
Tell your story has to do with if you've had things happen to you, you shouldn't be ashamed. And part of the empowerment self-defense is it's a trauma-informed program. And so we recognize that statistics are somewhere about, by the time a woman reaches 55 years old, 4 out of 5 women have had at least an attempted assault. They may have been sexually abused as a child or physically abused as a child.
Yeah.
They might be or have been in an abusive relationship, whether it's emotional, mental, or physically abusive. And so almost everybody that comes to my class has an experience. If they don't have it, maybe they grew up in a home where their mother was experiencing it.
Yeah.
Or their sister, or their aunt, or their grandma. They've seen this happen. And so because of that, sometimes when we do this self-defense or we talk about things, it can be hard for people to listen to it because it brings up memories. And so I always make sure if you need a break, you can take a break. don't be ashamed if you start to cry. Sometimes when I tell my story in my classes, I always tell my story, I start to cry. Sometimes I don't. Again, it just depends on my emotional state for the day. But there's no shame in that, because the only person that is responsible for an assault or a rape is that perpetrator.
Exactly.
It is not you, no matter what you did. And so self-defense isn't there to say, hey, you know, if you would have done this, you wouldn't have got raped. No.
That's true.
If you are here in this class alive, you did something right.
That's true. You know, and you walked us through all the steps, and I can see you're continuing to do that for yourself, because you're at the point where you're telling your story, you know, and I don't know how emotional that is for you, but would you want to share with us just a little bit about how you came to get to this level of confidence to want to empower other women because of your story?
Yes. I grew up in a home that had some emotional abuse.
Okay.
And there was physical discipline that was taken
too far.
Taken too far.
Right.
Yeah. The way I was disciplined when I was very young, until I was probably a teenager, was just pure physical. You know, lashing with belt, that kind of thing. And so it was not healthy or good. I was a bully at school, because at school I was bigger than everybody else. I've always been big, and that was a place I could be a bully. I didn't have control at home, so I could go out there and bully, you know. And again, I had to work hard to not be a bully anymore.
Right. I'm curious as to how this even happens, because you've been a victim, and then you know, you try to regain power by becoming a bully, and then you had to, I can't imagine the amount of work it is to step back and say, you know what, I don't want to be the same.
Yeah, I didn't want to hurt people anymore. And I really worked hard to not do that. That's why when somebody had asked me to do martial arts earlier than I started, and I refused to, because I felt like that was going to bring that bully side back out of me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that to happen, but it actually was the opposite. Now that I know what I can do, I don't have to do anything. Right. I just have to have that confidence, and I just have to, most of the time, people who are fighting, who are aggressive. So there's a difference between assertive and aggressive.
That's true.
Aggressive people are afraid. They're just like the people that freeze and are passive. They are aggressive. I'm talking overly aggressive. Like somebody steps on your foot on the bus and you start to curse and yell at them and threaten them. That's out of fear. That is not, you're not confident.
That's
if you're confident, you don't have to do anything.
That's true.
I mean, if somebody stomped on your foot, then you have the right to say something at least, or to defend yourself if you have to, if it becomes that physical. But if somebody accidentally steps on your foot and they say, oh, I'm sorry, and you lose your mind, you are actually introducing, situations where somebody will come and attack you. Because once you start that, somebody can harm you.
I love that, because now that you've mentioned that aggression comes from a place of fear, I didn't really think about it. The self-defense for empowerment is about so much control. It's not about hurting. It's about being able to control your surroundings by thinking, by observing, by being intentional about who approaches you and what. It's about boundaries, you know. So I really hope that our viewers have been enjoying this so far, and I am excited about the demo section. And so we'll be right back, where Ms. Renee can show us some techniques. And so we'll have a short break at this time, but we'll be right back.
Hello, young people and youth leaders. I'm Pastor Gary Blanchard, and guess what? Global Youth Day is soon approaching, and all of us here at the Youth Department cannot wait. How about you? The theme this year is Loving the Forgotten. Can you think of some people from your church that you haven't seen in a while? Is there a widow or an orphan in your community that is inevitably going through a difficult life transition right now? Or maybe some elderly or sick and shut-in member needs your attention and care. Have you spoken to them recently or shown them God's love? Take this time to come up with a plan, a strategy. Connect with them. Send some care package letters for them to know that they are loved and never forgotten. In Matthew 25, Jesus reminds us that when we feed the hungry, clothe the naked, welcome the stranger, visit the sick or those in prison, when we do for the least of these, our brothers and sisters, we are doing it unto Him. That's what GYD, young people and youth leaders, is all about. remembering those we may have, unfortunately, forgotten.
I love Global Youth Day because it's the springboard for living a life of service. Global Youth Day is not the end, but the beginning of an exciting journey. That's right. Once we have cared for the community physically, we have a chance to also care for them spiritually with a week of prayer. This is your chance to bring anyone who you ministered to during Global Youth Day or any other missing members to learn about Jesus and His life-transforming love. This year's week of prayer is focused on the three angels' messages and how we can share the good news of Christ to all the world.
Week of prayer always ends on the next Sabbath with Homecoming Sabbath. This is the time to invite everyone we ministered to this past week. On this day, we want to invite our friends who haven't been around recently and celebrate with those who have been chosen by Christ and have decided to be baptized. Yes! What a wonderful time this will be. I cannot wait. Remember to start making your plans now. Check out our website, gcyouthministries.org, for all the Global Youth Day, Week of Prayer, and Homecoming Sabbath information.
And make sure to use your hashtag GYD22 on all your social media posts.
And on behalf of the General Conference Youth Department, we love all of you, and we'll see you at Global Youth Day. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Defining Your Health. This morning we're talking about Break the Bias, Self-Defense for Empowerment. So on set, we had Ms. Renee Wentz. She's a self-defense instructor. And we're at the second half now where we want to get a little bit more into techniques. So just before we left off, we were talking about your story, Renee. You know, what are some of the maybe challenges or your life history that made it imperative that you continue with this purpose that you've taken on in teaching women self-defense? You didn't really get to finish before we got to that break.
Yeah, I basically talked about my childhood, the things that had some of the violence I experienced in my childhood. But even when I became an adult, I experienced violence. When I was at university, I was attempted rape. I escaped from that, even though I had no training, but I scratched the guy's face and was able to get away.
Wow.
And then I was actually raped. It was a completed rape. And then I got into a marriage, and I was in that marriage for many years that started out emotionally abusive and ended with a very violent physical attack that the person who was, he's my ex-husband now, but at the time he thought he killed me, and he actually left me there.
To die?
Yeah, he left and went to get an alibi and came back 2 days later and said he didn't hear that a white woman was dead in this village I was living in, so he decided I must still be alive.
Wow,
and then that's when I said, marriage over.
that's a lot.
Yeah, and I mean a lot of women have had similar experiences, and so when we look at, I mean, one of the things about self-defense is like, how does that play into those kind of situations?
Those domestic violence,
and we're talking about empowerment here. So there's a couple of different ways that it fits in. If you've never been experienced violence, then if you're taking this class, or you've taken it and you're learning to be assertive, you're learning what violence is, you're learning that you're worth protecting and taking care of, that you have the right. When you learn those things, you're less likely, if you get into a situation, because we can't usually predict. A lot of times these people we get into relationships with, they're very charismatic, they're very wonderful and nice, and if you tell anybody out in the public that this person is abusing you, they'll never believe it because they don't show it in public mostly. They show it only in private. So, but once that kind of starts, you have more ability to say, hey, I'm not going to stand for this. This is, you're not respectful, you're doing this to me, and they can more easily get out of the situation. I know when I was working in schools, I would have clubs I worked in tertiary education at sixth form. I had clubs at 2 of the 6 forms I worked at, and I used to teach those girls in a classroom. And so I would actually see that they would start out shy, meek. And as we went through the semester and they learned more in the self-defense, they started answering more questions in class. They would
boost their confidence.
Yes. And they would tell me, Miss, I used to always be afraid to give presentations. Now I'm not afraid. I don't mind to stand up. I would ask somebody to please help me. So, a couple people come help me move this table. I never asked for some big, strong boys. I always had a couple people. And it was those girls that took self-defense that stood up before anybody.
Right.
And so it really, it impacts confidence level and all of that. So again, you're less likely to get into a relationship that's violent or more likely to get out.
You know, and it's at this point that I just want to remind our viewers that that's what this self-defense about empowerment. It's not about you wanting to fight, wanting to be aggressive, not allowing God to fight your battles, but you are in situations where you have to make a stand. We live in a fallen world. And that's not okay. It's never God's will for you to be raped, for you to live in a physically abusive relationship. So I just want to remind our viewers that what we're doing today is really teaching empowerment, because you explained some of the impact just now, and that there's that confidence, there's that that women have, that it's not that I need extra protecting or have to rely on it from men, but if I'm able to do something within my power to at least help myself
and your children.
And your children, right? So there's a way to do that. So I'm glad you're here with us again, Ms. Renee. You are godsend. This is a wonderful initiative that you've taken on, and I'm so glad you're doing it.
I wanted to mention too, though, if you're in if people come to my class and they're in a relationship that's violent, I'm not teaching you to fight back with that person. I'm not teaching them like, oh, you punch me, now I know how to punch you.
Right.
I'm not teaching that. I'm teaching to prevent, and I know people just have to leave a relationship like that. And I understand they can't leave right away, and it sometimes takes time. One of the things that is important that women do is don't say they're leaving.
Yeah.
Don't tell a person, because that time is when the violence is most dangerous. The person will ramp up the violence, the threats to kill you.
Yeah.
If I can't have you, nobody will. That is a cliche because people say it all the time. And again, I'm a counselor, and so I deal with people with the aftermath, the emotional aftermath of these things, and I encourage people safety kinds of put them with how they're safe to get away. So never say you're going. You start to pack the necessary things, the paperwork for you or your children, the medication, and you leave when he's not there. But also, it is also very dangerous after you leave, because he'll come looking for you.
Yeah.
Or if you get in a new relationship. And we see that, and we all know that because we see it in the newspaper. These people where it's a double murder or it's a murder,
crime of passion.
They say crime of passion. It's not. It's a crime of control.
Love that.
It's not about love. That is not love. That is control. I can't control you anymore. Well, I'm going to show you this is going to be the final control, is going to be kill you.
Right.
Okay. So if you know self-defense at that point, he might not even know you know it. If he starts to try to strangle you, he always used to strangle you before, even to unconsciousness, and you know how to get out of it, that is what I'm teaching you. Remember, it's 1, 2, 3, get out.
Yeah.
And so it is a safety measure. And then for people who are survivors, who've gotten out of that, once you take this, and this is why, again, I'm so passionate, is the empowerment. You've been abused, you've been in these situations, you have that level of fear in you. Some people have post-traumatic stress after being in a relationship like that. Every little thing, you're kind of on edge. You learn your power, and you feel like, I can really hit something. I could really do damage. Then it gives you more confidence, and it helps you lessen that fear, and it helps you move through some of the emotional parts.
Yeah, that's true. That actually helps with the trauma.
It's kind of amazing. I mean, some people say it's victim blaming. It's not. It's saying you didn't have these tools in your toolbox before. So what happened to you before, again, is not your fault.
Yeah.
But now you've got some tools.
Correct.
And you can use them however you want to use them.
Well, I'm ready to learn some tools.
Okay. So what I wanted to do, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of escalation of violence.
Okay.
So I want to start with a demonstration of, let's say this is the person that you know, and you want to maintain a relationship with this person later on. So it's a family member, a friend, maybe a co-worker. And let's say you're at a party And this person is a little bit intoxicated and they are doing things you don't like. They're touching you a lot. They're getting all up in your space and too close to you. And you've already told them a number of times, listen, back off.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I don't want you to touch me so much. It makes me uncomfortable. The person continues. So you're just gonna walk toward me.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do because you are going to expect it.
Renee, don't hurt me, okay?
It's not going to hurt. That's why this is the one you do for people you want to have a relationship afterwards.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt them.
So I'm coming towards you.
Come towards me.
Okay.
I told you to back off already. All right. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up.
I'm sorry. No, but you got me.
It was very uncomfortable. Every single person I've done this with as a demonstration does the same thing. I don't care if it's a big tall man or who it is. I don't care if they have glasses on. Even if you have glasses on,
What
you
do you call that? Is this like a cat claw
I
thing?
call it washing the face because I didn't claw you.
That's so uncomfortable.
It is because of your eyes. And that's why people naturally back up. Now, I'd love to teach this one to kids because if you're bullied at school, remember you can't punch somebody at school. But if somebody's bullying you, a kid can do that. I always go wash the face, wash the face, wash. I like to teach that to kids, like they're just washing their face, right? And the kid backs up. Now, the biggest thing that bullies are afraid of is looking like a fool.
Yeah.
Right? And the other kid's laughing. So it's very effective and the kid can't get in trouble because they didn't hurt you.
I don't know how that will play out with a big man. I just don't know.
Listen, I did it on another program. When I first learned that technique, I learned it in 2017 when I went to the US for this camp that I went to. And I always went full on aggressive when I do the physical. And I never thought about these other things. And the first time I was just back for a month or something, I went on another program, and the only person that would do the demo with me was one of the cameramen. But the guy that was hosting was afraid, literally. And so the cameraman came out. He's a big, tall guy, and he'd seen me do a lot of stuff before. He didn't expect me to actually do that. I didn't tell him. We did the same, and he backed up. He was like, whoa, you know. And they were like, what happened? And he said, it was very uncomfortable. It's because of your eyes. Doesn't matter his eyes. Yeah. Okay. So the next one I want you to do, I want you to actually grab my wrist. You can grab it with one hand, two hands, any hand. It doesn't matter. Okay. So now you're coming towards me, and now you're going to actually grab me.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what I want to do is go over the hand. So grab me with the other hand. So I went this way the other time. Now I want to go over.
So the opposite direction.
Yeah. So hold it really tight. Doesn't matter which hand. So hold it really tight. You can
still, it slips. It slips.
It slipped because one of the great parts about being in Belize, we're always a little moist.
Yeah.
So always a little slippery. But it's the whole thing of your wrist won't turn that way. Now hold it, now push it down, push down. So now if I go this way, you see how much harder it is?
Yeah.
This is going under. But if I go over, I can get out.
I need to figure that out. I think so. It's up.
I just say you just go over the hand.
So you do it to me then. Let me see if I can. And then I'm gonna go this way.
You're gonna go this way because you're going over the hand.
Oh, it has to automatically release.
You can't because it's
turning it the opposite way.
Somebody said, oh, that's a pressure point. Okay, sure.
Okay.
But I don't deal with those because they're too small or whatever. I'm just saying, just over the hand. The hand can't turn that way, but it can turn the other way.
That's true. It's much weaker.
No matter which hand they catch you with, it's over. Now, if you grab it with two hands, I'm just going to go over one of the hands.
Oh, yeah. Wait, let me do this really, really strong. Yeah.
You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
You catch me, but the thing is, if you catch me and I stop, then you can hold.
And then the thing is, I'm not expecting you to respond like that. So it's not like I'm gonna grab you like full force all the time, and then that with a yell, like you mentioned, then
I yell right here. Most people, if I'm gonna grab you to carry you, I'm not actually gonna grab you there.
Right.
So if you
automatically.
Yeah.
All right.
And one of the things we need to talk about next for the more aggressive things, we have to talk about targets.
Okay.
And I kind of mentioned that before. So I'll quickly go through the good targets for injury from upstairs to downstairs. And remember, if somebody was really tall, you can still reach my face. But let's say there's a really tall man, you're not going to be able to get to his face, but you're going to have all these other ones downstairs. So the first one upstairs is the temple.
The temple? Okay.
That's a little hole by the side of your eyes. Anybody at home, they can take that, press on it. If you press on it, you'll feel a little pain. So the rest of our skull is really, really hard. If you're going to hit somebody in the head, you can't really do it with just your hand. You're going to have to pick up some kind of weapon to do that with. But if you hit somebody here, this is a kill spot. This is a spot you could kill somebody with.
Uh-oh.
Okay? And that's because the brain bounces around just like a brain injury.
Yeah, right. So that kind of confuses then.
Should you worry if you kill somebody in self-defense?
Should I?
Yes, and I'm asking, do you think you should worry?
Based on your explanation just now, yes.
So you're not gonna hit very hard there if you do it?
Well, if it's just self-defense, then I'll try.
Self-defense.
Yeah, I don't want to kill you, so I'm just gonna apply some pressure there, but I don't want to.
No. You have to cause injury. So if you're gonna cause injury,
don't use that as a target.
No. That's the best target upstairs. If you want to get away and you're fighting for your life, that's your best target. If you hit somebody lightly, you'll knock them a little silly, and you can go for another target. But I want you, every time you do a technique, I want you to do it as hard as you can.
Follow through.
You want to do one.
So that you could get away.
To get away.
Okay.
If I hit you medium blow, you're going to not get knocked out.
Bounce right out.
Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, if I hit you really hard, you might die. Do you think I'm going to stick around to find out if you're dead? Do you think I'm going to wait there and like take your pulse? Is he going to live? Is he not going to live? Is he going to live? No. Once I knock you out, I'm gone. Now, if I knock you out, you're unconscious, and I stay there, and now I stomp you in the face, and I kick you in the side of the head.
That's aggressive.
I'm going to stomp you in the groin just for fun.
Yeah, that's
And
aggressive.
the person dies. Now you're going to get charged.
Yeah.
Not probably murder, but at least manslaughter.
Yeah.
Whoops.
It's okay.
I had too much hands.
I hope this is better.
Okay. All right. So that's temple. Okay. Eyes, great target, obviously. Anything you can put in the eye, whether it's just a couple fingers. I call this the bumblebee. I like to use the fingers of bird beak. I like to use the fingers. As you do one finger, you could break your own finger, but here it's strong. You can use your thumbs. You can put a plastic spoon, anything you can put in the eye, a pen, whatever. The nose, great target. Everybody's been hit in the nose. It hurts like heck. It doesn't even have to be that hard of a hit for it to hurt. Sometimes the nose bleeds.
And that's not dead. That's just really painful.
When your hands, what happens to your hands when you get hit in the nose? Your eyes water. What do you usually do with your hands if you get hit in the nose?
I automatically try to cover my nose. Yeah.
Oh.
So it leaves them vulnerable.
Stairs vulnerable. Okay. Everything from shoulders to the waist in the front, forget about it. Not good targets. You're not
from the shoulders, waist down, like the chest. Not good target.
The throat is only good if you've already knocked them back from the chin. The chin is a good target. Okay. If their tongue is out, and you hit under the chin,
then it bite
their tongue off, or at least bite it hard. Even if it's not, you're not necessarily going to cause injury, but that pain, if you've ever hit your chin,
it's going to distract them.
It radiates all the way up to the top of your head, and then you follow up with something else. So if you knock the chin back, then the throat is open. Otherwise, if somebody sees you going for the throat, automatically people do.
They're going to clench. Yeah.
And so you've used your power to an area that's not going to work. Okay, so in the back, if you somehow get turned around, or there's more than one person and one is a lookout, you've got the kidneys back here.
Okay.
Great target. They're almost on the outside of the body. They don't have muscles around them like the front does to cover the organs. Excellent target. Thighs, buttocks, forget about it. Some of us got a lot of meat back there. It doesn't even matter if you got a lot of meat as long as something covered it. Knees, excellent target.
Your knees.
Once you take a knee out, somebody can't chase you. All the downstairs they can't chase you. So I like to go to the side of the knee, because to break a kneecap, it doesn't take that much pressure, like 7 to 12 pounds of pressure, but it's also a small target. So if I go to the side and I knock it off, you can dislocate the kneecap. They can't chase you either. If you miss the knee and you hit the shin, that's fine, because you're going to do it really hard. We've all hit our shin on a table. Jesus, you can't run after that. It hurts terrible. Okay? Or the top of the foot is my favorite downstairs, because you can be close and do it. And most of the time, you're going to be up close. So most of the time, if I'm this close, I can't really kick you, but I can stomp on the top of your foot. I love it because every single person can do it and it doesn't matter the size.
Even children.
Even children. You're doing a stomp, you're not just accidentally stepping on it.
Yeah, you're being intentional.
Yeah, and you want to get the instep. The toes are fine, but if you get the instep, there's 26 bones in the foot. They're small. You break them. Good.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So I would like to do the next one. I want to do a choke because strangulation is the number one cause of murder for a woman by somebody she knows.
Okay.
And it can be with a cord or a rope, but it can be with bare hands. You don't have to come with a weapon. That's why it's number one.
It's a shame this might have to be I think we might have to turn the last one since we're running out of time already.
Okay, sure.
So what do you want me to do?
Choke me. But I want you to really choke me.
Oh,
squeeze it hard.
It's squeezing.
Squeeze it hard.
All right, I'm squeezing.
Okay, so you can see now she has really got it good. I'm just going to turtle. I'm going to come up, you see?
Yeah, my hands are raised.
I would grab one finger on the side and just pull as hard. That's going to break. Now here's my target. Her hands are up so I don't have her face because she's shorter than me. But I've got the groin. Okay? And I didn't talk about the groin. The groin is a great secondary part. It's open.
Don't you think about it.
Simply because men are quick to protect.
Okay.
And so I don't usually teach it as a first, but in that situation,
but if you double it, they're not expecting. Yeah.
Right. And then I stomp the foot, and now if you put your hands down, I can go to your.
Yeah, you blindsided me. Yeah. I'm so scared.
So the biggest thing is, you see, we do our technique, we release, and then we look for all our targets. And as soon as you can turn around, it's better to be facing because it's hard to fight somebody behind you. So we've just been a bam, a stomp, and a face.
Okay.
And any of the targets that are there. No?
Yeah, I'm pretty scared, to be honest. I'm traumatized.
So that's a level. So we saw the increasing levels of violence, no?
Yeah, definitely.
So there's lots and lots of techniques that we could do. We don't have time for
there's
lots of stuff. But if you come, my workshops are a half-a-day workshop. You can leave there and you can know what to do. I've had people leave a class literally and tell me they use it that very night.
Wow.
Technique. And somebody tried to come in a woman's house and she literally fist to the nose and knee to the groin. And the guy left and she called the police.
I remember that 3-step.
Yeah.
But Ms. Renee, what's the minimum number of people that can come to your workshop?
Usually like about 10.
10?
Yeah, because it's harder. I do smaller groups sometimes, but it's harder when you have smaller groups because there's a lot of partner work that we do, a lot of boundary setting, lots of stuff.
Okay.
10 is a great number, but I usually will go up to like 20, 25. Otherwise, it gets a little too long because I bring my pads and you get to hit full force on them. You get to really feel your power. And then you learn all the techniques, even ground defense. You also will learn about home invasion, how to set up your home and be safe for a home invasion, which are common. And so I just encourage people to contact me, tell me about your group, tell me what you're looking for, whether you want short sessions multiple times or you want one half-day workshop, and we'll work it out.
Right. So we have your number up on the screen for those of you who are interested in making arrangements to have Miss Renee come in, or even if it's not self-defense, I remember you saying that you do family therapy as well. So you're a counselor, and so a wealth of knowledge and skills here. So you can get in contact with Miss Renee.
You can find me on Facebook
as
well. Well.
Right. You have a Facebook page. She thing.
So it's capital S, capital H, capital E, thing.
T-H.
Self-defense and personal safety page. And so you can find me on Facebook there. And the number is text me or WhatsApp me because when I'm doing counseling, I don't answer my phone. So if you call me, you'll get frustrated.
Right. So one of the last step that you mentioned is that, let me see if I remember, you said think, you said yell, you said run, fight, and then tell. And so this morning we also have a testimony from a domestic violence survivor. And she was confident and brave enough to tell her story. So coming up next, this is a special edition, Defining Your Health. So you'll be able to hear her story right after this. So Ms. Renee, thank you for joining me this morning. You have me a little shaken up. I mean, I feel empowered, but I also feel a little shaky. So those are some serious stuff. Is there anything you would like to leave with our viewers just before we leave?
Not too much. I'll be in Brazil next week. So Belize is going to Brazil to represent. I'll be training women to train women.
Amen. Amen. Today we have another powerful testimony. I am here seated with Sister Myra Miranda, and she's a recently baptized member, and she has a powerful story to share with us today. So I want you to listen in, and I hope that you're blessed and encouraged in your Christian relationship. Sister Myra, you want to share a little bit about yourself?
I am a mother of 4 children. I have 3 sons and 1 daughter. And I recently got baptized 2 weeks ago. I took the step in getting baptized because actually now I have fully control of my life, which I am grateful today, being able to have the control of my life, being able to do what I want, being able to speak and do the things I like, because where I wasn't able to.
All right. And to our viewers, that might sound confusing because you said you have full control of your life, but you said you just recently got baptized. So they must be wondering, what does she mean? God is in control of her life. But I understand that you're coming from a place where you didn't have a lot of control, power, and authority before, and this is a topic that many women are silent about, and it's the issue of domestic violence. And so you're not afraid this morning to help encourage women. Tell us a little bit more about that experience where you didn't have that control, and you're at this place now where you could give God the control that you got the freedom from.
Yes, I lived in a very, very abusive home for over 17 years. 17 years that I almost thought that I couldn't make it out. I used to pray a lot and ask God to help me out. I have my mom at Cookie Tree, who is Miss Evangeline Gillett. She was one of my biggest supporters. Every time I had an incident, I would call my mom, and my mom would always pray with me and always tell me, Myra, don't give up. Don't give up. But sometimes the violence was so terrible that sometimes I didn't share it with my mom because, mothers would worry a lot. And so sometimes I just kept it within me. But it reached a point that I had to sadly watch my 3 sons walk out of the home, leave me, and I only left with my daughter. There, the violence, instead of getting better, it just got worse. And in this situation, everything I did was wrong. I was never right. Even if I was right, I was wrong. So I got in a depression state. But there again, my mom always encouraging me. And I always wanted to go back to study. So I told my children them that if I would ever get an opportunity to go back to school, I would do it. In 2016, I got the chance going against this terrible man who physically, verbally, mentally abused of me every day. Yes. He abused of me every day in all aspects.
When did you realize, how early did this abuse start? You said
this abuse started like a year after.
So 17 years of abuse. What were the nature of the abuse? How did you know it was abuse? Usually women aren't aware that, this is crossing the line. How did you know he was crossing the line?
This abuse was in all forms. This was physical, verbally, mentally. Every time this man would go and drink, that was when the real terror came in, because this man always had weapons all over the house.
What do you mean by weapons? Can you
Weapons mean like knives, machete, a bat, anything that he would grab and just come home and just come and attack me. Sometimes I would hit my son, my oldest son would always be on the lookout, and he would come and say, Mommy, Daddy is drinking. So I would be warned by him. So when he reached, my heart is already pulsing. It looks like it wants to jump out of my chest. And so even if I didn't say anything or just played the calm, played the quiet, I was still wrong. So this man would always come and hit me, throw me. It was so terrible that every time I thought I got rid of a weapon, the devil always had the weapon there for him. On many occasions, knives were put on my throat. I was lashed with machetes on my back.
All of this happened in front of the children?
All of this happened in front of my children when my children them were young. But as the children started to grow, they all didn't like it. And because they confronted him about the scene that they observed, he chased them. They all left the home. And so it was only my daughter and myself left there. And the problem was that my son were not happy me being there because they always said, Mommy, we don't want to lose you. We don't want to take you out of the home dead, you know, Mom. It's time to go out.
And how would you feel when they share these things with you? Like, what was your mental state at this time?
At this time, my mental state was down. My self-esteem was down. I thought I was worthless. He made me feel worthless. He made me feel I was nobody. That literally made me feel I couldn't survive without him. He always treated me to the point that I wasn't able to go nowhere. If I go to church, I was going to see some brother who was probably I was playing with. If I would go to school, I played with all the teachers for my good grades. So speaking to people was like I have something with them. So like I lived a life that I never go out. Dressing like a decent person was a problem. Everything was a problem in that home. So in that home, God was never there.
He wasn't a Christian.
He wasn't a Christian, and God was never there because this man would get up every morning and start till night.
So
every day you would lead to violence and you go sleep to violence. So it was a scenario that I reached to the point that I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, I'm tired of the situation, Mom. And I just don't know what to do because I had left already several occasions. But because of him terrorizing my life and threatening me, I was forced back to come back.
So every time you left,
so every time I left, I have to come back. So like I prayed and I asked God and like the little time I had one while I was going to school was like the peaceful moment for me to be happy. I had a smile, but behind me, it was a sad person behind me because of this domestic violence that I was living. So I continued and I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, I'm tired of the situation. I don't know what to do next, Mom. I tried to leave and I still end up coming back to this person. So my mom said, honey, let's pray. Let us pray. Let us keep on praying. So I kept on praying. One day it got so violent to the point that all I thought was killing myself.
You killing yourself. You didn't think
that
he was going to kill you.
Because he actually said that if I leave him, he would kill me. So I said, then he's not treating me right. So I said, well, you know what? I am tired of the situation. So I will put an end to it. So I start to put in my mind committing suicide, and the devil was right there to start to trigger that
right at that
point to want me to do it. So I called my mom one day and I said, Mom, I have the way how to end this situation. I said, I'm going to just cast myself onto one of these big trucks that are passing on the road and let them hit me down, mash me, kill me instantly. My mom said, no, Myra, you can't do that. They say, I don't want you to lose your soul. They say, I want to meet you in heaven. So she said, let us pray. So we prayed and I kept on praying. Eventually, I started to realize that fear was kind of going and I was gaining that strength in me. And so I feeling that strength, and one day my 3 sons came to me and they said, Mom, we want to talk to you. So he wasn't allowing them to go to the house. So I told him, let's take a walk to the water edge. So we walked to the water edge, and my sons, they said, Mommy, he said, we are here, he said, because we wanted to leave that home. We wanted to get out of that home. He said, Mom, because we don't want to lose you. We don't want to take you out from there dead, Mom, because if you die, he said, you don't know what will become of us too, Mom.
So what was different this time? Because you said you left and you had to go back. So you told me that you are free now. You have the control to worship. That's how you got baptized. So
I'm free.
How did you reach that point where you're finally able to? Tell me a little bit about that part, the overcoming part. How did you end up leaving this
Overcoming part was basically when my 3 sons came and said, Mom, you can do it.
So you just
We are here. No, we are here to support you. So one day the man went out to drink. He came back, and my son was right out there waiting. And my son said, Mom, he's drinking. So I said to myself, this is the last of it. Today, it's going to be over. So that day when he came, I was in the bed resting when he just came in, and he just slammed me that I felt like I almost passed out. So
he slapped you, or
yes, he just slapped me hard while I was lying. I wasn't even looking out for that slap. So I got up, and my daughter jumped in the midst, and he said, you weren't gonna knock my mom anymore. So I walked down the step, and I told him, it's done. It's over. So I walked out, and there was my older son, and my older son said, Dad, leave my mom alone. Leave her. I'm taking her with me. So my son was there, and my son looked at me, and he said, Mom, don't look back at that house. Don't look back, he said, because if you look back, you're going to go back. He said, and I don't want you to go back. So he kept on telling me, Mom, don't look back. There we had this man coming behind us with machete, casting stone up at us. My son was up the way. He said, Mom, don't worry. Don't worry. He's not going to touch you. So while we got there to the water edge, I almost thought that the 3 of us were going to die there.
He was going to catch up to you.
Just kill us, because he was flinging that machete. He was going on so violent as usual. He always loved to make that scene. And like he always loved to make that scene. And so that day,
around?
There was actually, when people see the scenes, they don't pay it no mind.
Okay.
Because it's always something that he always does.
So it's like just another episode.
Yes, just another incident. So then my son said, Dad, he said, you ain't gonna hit my mom anymore. He said, I'm not that same little boy that used to watch you hurt my mom when my mom haven't done you nothing. My mom is a good mom. He said, I am a man now. He said, and if you hit my mom, I'm gonna stand up for my mom. I'm gonna defend my mom. So he said, so you're taking away your mom from me? You're actually taking her away? He said, yes, I'm taking her away from you. He said, because if you would be treating her the right way, I wouldn't be taking her away from you. So my son gave the order, because he had a house across the lagoon where he has his little farm. He said, Mom, get in the dory. And while he was trying to stop us to get into the dory, he said, Mom, I'm ordering you to get into the dory. Hurry.
So hurry. His husband was there trying to pull you away.
He was like holding him from lashing that machete. And so like he said, Dad, I don't want to hit you. He said, but please leave my mom alone. So we got into the dory, and as we got into the dory, he shoved off the dory and he got in, and he hurried paddling, and he paddled across. And there I got out from there, but what came next was the worst, because then he terrorized my life, because he was always used to terrorize my life, and gave me a time frame of a week to return back home.
Wow, that's, sis Tamara, you're speaking and I have cold seat, because I could identify that there's so many women who they're living that very same experience. And I love that part when you said your son said, don't look back, because if you look back, you're going to turn back. You're going to want to go back. And I'm so glad to hear that you've been delivered, that you're trusting God. It's been 2 weeks on this journey. I definitely I have to get you back to really share the full development of this story. But for now, I just want to thank you for your bravery, for speaking out and sharing with us.
And I just want to deliver a quick message to any women out there who is facing the same situation as me. Don't give up. God answers prayer. The prayer is not answered when we want, but it is answered when God thinks it's appropriate time for it to happen. And actually, don't think like myself that God abandoned us. God never abandoned us. We abandon God. So I give God thanks every day for allowing me to have my life and my freedom now. And
what are you trying to do with this freedom, sis?
What I am doing with this freedom, and like I said, I am happy to have control of my life. Well, because I have control of my life, I made it to get baptized and let Jesus lead the way for me. So I am here totally in God's hand and asking him to continue giving me health and strength and allow me to fulfill my dream, which is to become a teacher one day. And I am happy for every moment, every experience I lived, even though it was a terror. I learned a lot. And I should say that it wasn't a pleasant one. Every time I remember about it, it's actually feels like
I'm seeing your seeing how much of an effect it has on you, even when you speak about it. So I know that that's been a terrible experience for you.
And what I love about me having control of my life is that I actually know I can speak. I can
Silence is broken.
And I can continue be the same Myra I was because I wasn't a bad Myra.
He just made you feel.
He made me feel like I was a bad Myra, but I wasn't.
Sis, I'm so glad that you found comfort, and I hope that for the women who are experiencing something similar, that they can also come to repentance with the help of their friends and family. Sister Myra is freed now, and she's studying to become a teacher. She's enrolled at BAJC. And if you have anything that you would like to donate or share financially to support her, you can contact us at 613-9351. Any way you would like to help or support, and I'm sure she would appreciate it. Just before we leave, we continue this another time. Sis, is there a favorite Bible text that you'd like to share or that has encouraged you throughout this whole period of time that you were struggling? Do you like to close us with a scripture text?
I like to say, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So I'm longing for that everlasting life. I'm fighting. And with the help of God, I will keep on fighting and I will keep on walking in the right path.
So I want to thank our dear sister for that powerful and emotional testimony. This entire episode has been a blessing for me. Hope it was for you. Thank you for watching Defining Your Health.